Hello, my name is Carina, and in this podcast, Break Fear, Find Freedom, I have conversations with people just like you who have broken their fear and found their freedom, whatever that may be. And shows you how to do the same. So sit back, relax, grab your coffee or your running shoes, whatever makes you happy, and let the fun begin. Oh, by the way, come take my hand and let's go. The door's opening now. Hello, everybody. Have you ever wondered why about enlightenment? Have you ever considered do you think you're enlightened? And would you want to be enlightened? And how difficult is it to be enlightened? And what does it mean anyway? I don't know. Today, we have a very, very special guest, Maestro Mio. And Maestro Mio claims that he is enlightened and he can show you how to be enlightened in 3 steps. Now, that's a challenge. I'm loving this. Hello, Maestro Mio. How are you today?
Hello, Carina. Nice to meet you again. It's always a pleasure to talk with you. I'm great, actually, but you said something about me, which I don't know. I never claimed that I'm enlightened. I speak about enlightenment. So, people then suppose that I'm enlightened. So this kind of the story. But yeah, actually, there are 3 steps to get enlightened. And we should talk about them like during this conversation. For the
Very
first
nice.
one, yeah, I will just give you a hint.
Before we do that, tell us tell us a bit about Maestro Mio and how did you get to this point?
Sure. So it's kind of, I would say, a normal story, a common story. I was living my life normally in a material way. I was pursuing, pleasures, material pleasures. But then happened that I realized that actually I wasn't getting what I was looking for, which is something everlasting, something really blissful, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of turned inward and I started to look for myself or to look for God also. And after meditating, after finding some interesting philosophies, I would say, I had somehow a breakthrough. And for me, it was kind of immediate, which maybe I was told that I was kind of ready. So after that, I did my best to try to become a monk, to leave the world, to enjoy what I found inside of me. But then the universe wants me to give back what I got. So after meeting some spiritual teachers, some spiritual masters, I got somehow the order to come back here in the world, to live in the society as a normal person does, and to share with the people the message of love, of peace, of unity. And this is what I'm doing here. And why am I doing this?
I love this. But before we go further, tell me a bit about the breakthrough. Because we talk about breakthroughs all the time. And how do we know when we have a breakthrough?
That's a great question. And there are actually, the first time that you realize that you have a breakthrough is when you keep doing the things that you've been doing until now, and you find yourself to be a stranger in the way that you are living your life right now. So you realize, oh my God, what am I doing? This is not for me anymore. And it is so evident then that you can really affirm that that's a breakthrough, that's my breakthrough. But also I would say what one's need is a confirmation of the breakthrough that he or she had from someone else who already had a breakthrough. It's like when I've met my master, by seeing him the way he is, which is he acts like an enlightened being, so he's kind of detached, he's joyful, he's peaceful, no, he emanates a great energy. Since that moment, I had the total conviction that what happened to me, it was something that it was a fact. And I wasn't the only one that went to this kind of breakthrough. So I would say these 2 things they can show us that we really had the breakthrough.
I'm loving that. And then again, I have to ask you about enlightenment, because enlightenment is a word that's thrown around a lot, right?
True, unfortunately.
What does it really mean?
So my definition and the definition of my masters in our guru lineage of enlightenment is that enlightenment, it is the understanding, the total conviction that we are something, we can call ourselves souls, for example, that now we are having a human experience. But as humans, we are merely instruments in the hands of the universe, in the sense that whatever happens through me, it is what actually is supposed to happen, and it is the effect that God or the source or the universe wants to produce through me, right? So we, in my lineage, we say that enlightenment, it is somehow the greatest thing that can happen to you, because you completely lose responsibility from your action. In what sense? In the sense that you know that whatever you do in every moment, and also what he, she, or they do in every moment, it is actually decided somehow by a higher force, which in the first place wanted us to exist, so created us. I don't remember the moment when someone asked me if I want to become a human, if I want to have this ugly face, or come in this world. So it's something that happens. Life happens to us, and the moment we are born, we have to play by the rules, and the rules, of course, are the law of time, of cause and effect, and a lot of them, right? So again, enlightenment, it is the understanding that in reality, even if we feel like we are acting, we are choosing, we are deciding in every moment, and I know this is a challenging fact, in reality, we are being lived somehow. The universe, it's living through us. And this is the only way to get peace, especially for us that live in society, because in every moment, I know that whatever I'm doing, if someone thinks that I've done something good, okay, I'm not proud of it, because I know that in reality, what I produce, the effect, the action that I produce, God or the source or the universe wants me to act in this way. And also, if I do something bad and someone maybe makes me feel guilty, in reality, I cannot feel guilty, because I know that I acted exactly as I was supposed to act. Yeah.
Okay, now that's very interesting. Now I'm going to put a spanner in the works. What about, now a lot of people talk about law of attraction, right? Law of attraction, yes. And that's a law of the universe, right? So, and according to a lot of people, is if you meditate and you go into deep meditation, you can create your world. Now, tell me the difference here, because if I can create my world, or do you think the universe is just telling me what I need to create? And then, oh no, it's becoming too complicated. Okay, I'll give it back to you. You tell me. How do the two fit together?
Yes, no, so actually, I remember at the beginning of my journey, before starting to really look inside, I was looking outside using the law of attraction. So it's I wanted to fulfill my desires. And believe me, I've used the law of attraction. I fulfilled a few of these desires, okay? And then I still realized that that wasn't it somehow, right? Then after investigation, I also realized that whatever I was desiring, in reality, it was a desire that it wasn't really mine. It happened to be in that way because I'm a certain, person, and this is why I'm a man. Therefore, I desire a woman as my fiancée, right? So I really realized that all our desires, in reality, even if we focus, for example.
Wow, what did you just, you went silent for like 2 seconds. That was interesting. Okay, go back. So you were talking about how you're a man and you desire a woman. Okay.
Yeah. So
all right. So will you pick it up from there, please?
Yes. So again, if I'm a man, therefore I desire a woman, or I don't know, a nice car, or also because I'm a human being, then I desire, I don't know, fame, power, and stuff like that, right?
Right.
So after deep investigation, we realize that whatever we desire in reality, either if we create it or not, through the law of attraction, okay, through meditation and whatever tool, in reality, it is not us that are choosing this desire, right? And also, when we desire something, when we want to manifest something, like 3 things can happen. What we want can manifest, right? We can manifest it. Otherwise, we won't be able to manifest it. Or also, it can be better than what we wanted, or which is usually worse, right, than what we actually want. So it's our will in reality, our power, our free will, somehow ends when the will of the universe starts. So this is kind of the basic understanding. So whatever you do, even through the law of attraction, meditation, high focus, dedication, whether it turns out to be the way that you want it in reality, it's actually what the universe wants from you. And guess what? So many people use law of attraction and they manifest what they want, but a big portion also they don't manifest. And in my case, I remember I was manifesting some things, but others I couldn't manifest. So it's kind of, there's this understanding that even if we use like the law of attraction, still it is not up to us at the end of the day if it works or not.
Okay, yes, I will agree with you. And a lot of times when you manifest something, there's always something better that comes along. So if it doesn't, or if your desire, you work towards something, let's rather put it that, because now it's becoming a bit too. So if you work towards something and it doesn't pan out, a lot of times just around the corner is something much bigger and much better. So I've experienced that as well. And even sometimes when you think that you're in a bad place, something beautiful comes out of it anyway. And I mean, I can attest with that as my book's going to come out soon. Thinking that getting caught up in detention was a terrible thing. Yet in hindsight, there were many beautiful things that came out of it. So I think we maybe need to have a broader outlook on life. What do you think? Because it's also a lot of times you can't manifest things that you don't know, right?
That's so true, actually. So yeah, they usually tell us to somehow get in alignment, right, with what we want. But in reality, we do not know. We do not know what is going to happen, what really want, actually. We do not know that. So the best way, I would say, to live our life in society, it is to somehow have faith that if you have a certain thought, it is the thought that you must have right now because the source wants it to be in that way. So you do your best to act, according to this thought. And if it somehow ends in a good way, that's great. But if it doesn't, still, we must be peaceful inside, knowing that at the end of the day, it's also part of life just to have thoughts and not to manifest them. That's it. We don't have to somehow fulfill every single thought or desire that we have, right?
Right. But now tell me a bit but what you're saying is almost as that we don't have free will now.
Yes, so this is actually very challenging because it was also for me, I remember, very hard to give up. I mean, deep down, we must admit that we know that in reality, life somehow happens to us because so many times we want to do things and we are not able to not to do them, right? But still, we insist on the fact that we have a free will. But under like a deep investigation, I would say that we realize that whatever we do and the way that we do it, it is actually a product of our genes, as my master used to say, and of our conditioning, which means that my DNA, right, makes me somehow move in a certain way, makes me talk in a certain way, right? My body works in a different way than yours. And if I was maybe your brother, for example, believe me, I wouldn't, act in the way that I'm acting. So actually, I'm just memory somehow from like a lot of generations, right? So what I can do in reality, if I understand that I do not have like really free will, right? What I can do is somehow to observe the way I act, right? Mm-hmm. And by observation, it can happen like we can improve ourselves. We can improve the way we talk, the way we act, right?
Right.
But still, we must have the understanding that if we have a desire to change ourselves, to transcend our subconscious mind, okay, and our genes, our conditioning, this is also part of the destiny, right? Part of what actually the source wants from us.
Okay, so now I'm going to say,
surely, I know this is hard, please.
Okay, surely source, we say source. Now we all, if you go back to the Bible, and I'm not so, but God made us in his image, okay, or source or whatever. I mean, God's a very difficult, I don't like using that term because it brings up a whole lot of
that's why I use the word source.
Okay, so we were made in his image. So obviously we must be very powerful, right?
That's true.
Now, what I'm saying is that surely she, oh, no, you're too early. my next person's here. Must have missed up the times. It's 2. Okay, so surely then, sorry, got sidetracked. What was I going to say? Okay, so surely you have the power to change yourself. So you've got the
Yes.
power to change yourself. You've got the power to change your life, right?
That's true.
But what you're saying is that almost you don't have this power. So what I'm seeing when you're saying, now correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like you're a marionette.
100%.
So you've got source and it's telling you, but I don't feel like that. I have to
true.
disagree, because I feel like, some days I feel like that, right? But that's because I allow myself to feel like that. Yet when I'm in the moment and I'm focused, like I'm here, I don't feel like that. So what is the difference?
Well, let's say that in reality, we are really free only if we somehow are free from action. You know, I see a lot nowadays, so many teachers from the New Age, for example, that they insist that you are free the moment that you choose whatever you want to do, right? But I would say that if you really want to be free in this life, you must somehow give up completely the desire to choose, you know, to personally choose your life and to do. So let's say in my case, from my own experience, I also have the feeling in this moment that I am acting, that I am choosing, right? But in reality, I know that this is somehow an hypnosis, right? And
yes, okay.
my spiritual master, which is Ramesh Balsekar, he used to say that the human being somehow it is divinely hypnotized by God in order to produce a certain effect, right? So let's say that someone has complete like a strong sense of personal doership, of free will, right? His action, his output will be completely different from someone like me who knows as a fact that in reality I do not have free will, and I also know that other people, they do not have free will. So in my case, if someone does something bad to me, I won't judge him. So my reaction to what he has done to me will be like, don't worry, I totally understand it, it's okay, right? But if someone else who has like a strong strong sense of free will, and someone does something bad to him, then he will definitely react in a different way. He will be like, oh my God, you have done this to me, why you have done so, right? So as you can see, we have a different somehow mindset, programming, right, understanding of life, and because of it we somehow produce a different action.
Yes, yes, okay, I agree with you. But then a lot of people would say that people come into your life as angels, right? So let me explain what I mean. So if someone comes into your life and is your abuser, okay, now this is, and I'm not saying that abuse is right. I'm not saying any of that, okay? And there's a disclaimer. I'm not saying that it's okay. However, sometimes people come into your life, like say you get married to an alcoholic, okay, right? Because you attract those people anyway, because of your DNA, because of your conditioning. We've said all that, right? But somehow you're attracted to that person because of lessons that you have to learn, right or not?
Well, let's say that actually enlightenment or awakening, it makes you realize that in reality, you are not like an individual, okay, that has like a story, a personal story, that has an identity. Awakening, it is actually the disappearance of your personal identity. So if before you felt like you are a separate individual, God didn't exist, then you start a spiritual journey and then you think that you are a soul, you have lessons to learn. When awakening will happen, you realize that even that thought, which is definitely better than the previous one, it is still somehow an imagination that we like somehow to have. Because at the end of the day, the reality is that things happen. right? So you attract an alcoholic husband, and maybe attract like a saint, say saintly wife, right?
Saintly wife, right?
Yeah, that's just like somehow whatever happens. It is true also that what you're saying, we somehow attract what, you know, what's similar to us. That's true. But I would say that at the end of the day, at the end of the journey, actually, you realize that there is no individual doer. All there is somehow an unbroken unity, which is called God or the source. And the actions that are happening in this movie called life, they are completely somehow not a coincidence, but they have a purpose, definitely, but they are not happening to someone. Okay, it's like we are a big family, and everything happens into the family, right? In the family there is the good one, the bad one, and stuff like that. So yeah, again, awakening, it is really the also the you completely forget the fact that you are an individual and that you have lesson to learn, that you have learned something in the past. You somehow cease to hold an idea about yourself, whatever could be a soul or a person, whatever that be. So you just be somehow, you just are, you just exist.
Okay, I love that, actually. That's beautiful, because then you just here, and all that matters is what's happening here, right? That's what you're saying. So all right now, that's all that matters is our conversation, and what comes out of it, right? Or not. Oh no, if you're enlightened, you don't care what comes out of it. Okay, those aren't the right words. Those aren't the right words. So
I mean, let me add that, of course, I'm happy if something good comes out of the conversation, right? But I know that if something good came out, it is because it was supposed to be in that way, right? So that's kind of this mindset, I would say.
Okay, it's a good mindset. Now what I'm going to do is ask you another question. Okay, coincidence, synchronicity. Okay, now for me, I don't believe in coincidence, right?
Me neither.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is throw it back to you and say coincidence or synchronicity. So if you believe that everything's predestined and okay, then surely everything's set in stone. So it would be it's a beautiful like tapestry, right? Coincidence or synchronicity?
So everything is predestined, right? As you say, and also as my master loved to say, because at the end of the day, if you realize that everything it is already written somehow, then you can find peace, right? So there are no coincidences, in the sense that I was supposed to be the way I am right now, okay? And also for this to happen, so many synchronicities, right, have to be, right, written somehow or planned by God or the source. So life is definitely like an unfolding of events somehow, right? And the thing that we must understand, I guess, which is the most basic one, is that in this world, in the universe, we are bound somehow, bound to the law of karma, which is cause and effect, right? So it is normal that, let's say, I start to pursue material, you know, pleasures, but then my genes, my DNA, my nature is somehow to immediately get bored by the satisfaction that I get, okay? Then I will start a spiritual journey. And what philosophy I will choose, what religion, what path, it will completely depend on my own taste, on my own likes, right? But a different person, again, it could completely, you know, they could accept the little pleasures of the material, you know, shiny objects in the world. They could keep going for a long time in that way, right? So there are no coincidences. I have to be in this way, you have to be in that way, and he or she, they have to be also in their own way, right? So yeah, it's true what you're saying, of course.
Okay, because now what I'm saying as well is, you see, okay, so I've got a different philosophy, but that's fine, right? But there's still, you can still see the synchronicities in life, which is really beautiful. But again, I have to put a but in there. is that unless you're listening and unless you're in the flow, sometimes you miss it, right? So you'll see stories of people meeting, chance, I'm putting chance in inverted commas, right? Chance meetings and how they come together and they form something beautiful and they change the world. Or how partners meet, you know, like suddenly you're taking a run in the park with your dog and you meet someone, right? And it's just, I don't know, it's just a connection or whatever, or you meet someone else somewhere else. However, if you're not, like you were saying, if you're not aligned and you're not in yourself and you're sitting at home behind your computer, then you miss out on that kind of thing. So how would you explain that? Would you say that if you're predestined to meet that person, right, would you still meet them in another way? If you've missed that initial meeting in the park or wherever you meet them at having coffee at a coffee shop or whatever it is, or on the beach, I don't know, doesn't matter.
Yes, 100%. You know, actually, it's quite simple, I would say, because it is destined that you miss him right in the park, but then it is destined then you meet him at the bar, for example, right? So which means that actually you will meet people in the right time, at the right moment. That's all about. And you can try to avoid it, like not as much as you want to avoid, like an alcoholic husband, for example. But if you are supposed to meet him, no, if you have to play that role, it will happen, right? So if it's not happening right now, it is actually because it is supposed to happen in the next moment, right? Suppose suppose I meet you, like, I don't know, 2 years ago, right? I would be completely different. Our relationship could be completely different, right? But now we've just met, right? So right now we are sharing what we are supposed to share, right? So that's kind of pretty simple, I would say.
Okay, that's beautiful. So what you're saying is that people have to be ready. They have to be emotionally ready to meet, right? So another thing, if you weren't ready to meet, I wasn't ready to meet you, we weren't on the same page or whatever, you wouldn't be here right now, okay? There would be someone else talking because we wouldn't have connected because we don't have the similar emotional, I don't know, connection. So is that what you're saying?
Yes, definitely. And, you know, actually, we should give more credit to somehow the things that they look to us somehow stupid or pointless, because in reality, I would say that everything, every meeting, everything that we start to do, it is somehow a synchronicity, you know what I mean? Everything, it's, if you really can somehow annihilate yourself, if you can put yourself aside and be every time in the moment, you see how beautifully everything, even like the bad things, somehow happen. So you develop like a greater taste for life and everything becomes like a synchronicity. So again, I really love to see people giving more credit to even the little things in life or the bad things, for example.
Yes. I agree with you. I really agree with you there. And you hear that all the time. You hear sometimes when people have terrible car accidents, and it's just they just had to have that car accident to make them realize, because then they'd shift their whole world around, and they also do create something beautiful or meet the love of or whatever it is. So it's a beautiful thing. Okay, so tell us a bit about enlightenment. So now we've spoken about enlightenment. Tell us a bit, how do I know whether I'm enlightened right now, right? How do I know that? How do I know if I'm enlightened or not?
So there is actually a beautiful, I would say, little exercise. If you close your eyes and you say the word I, if any desire, you know, anger about someone, resentment comes to you, then you are not enlightened. But if you say I and nothing comes to your mind, or maybe the word like I'm everything, you know, or awareness, then you are enlightened. But this is just a joke, I would say. So, you know, you really understand that you are enlightened when you feel somehow different. But different in what sense? When you realize that you stop looking for things, you stop running, you know, behind objects, you stop somehow desiring whatever could be, you start living in a spontaneous way with almost no ideas, with almost no thoughts in your head, unless the thoughts that bring you to make an action, right?
Yes.
So it is like this feeling no, of complete alignment, of complete serenity, of complete peace. And this somehow points out that you are different from the majority of people, which they are not enlightened because they have to play their own role in the same way that you played before enlightenment happened in your life. And that's kind of it. But also it is important, I would say, to meet a spiritual master, someone that is already enlightened, because he can really give you the confirmation about your own state right now, right? So he can see if you still need to take care about some concepts that are in your mind and to clean them up, right? Or he can tell you, that's it, you have arrived. There's nothing else that you can learn.
Okay.
And this actually happened to me, I would say. Yeah, my master did his job. So by meeting him, I had the confirmation that whatever I understood, it was it. At least from the, let's say, my lineage perspective, right? What my teachers think about the life.
Okay, so now if some people say they've arrived, then that means it's the end, right? So you've arrived, you've done everything, you've said everything. What's next?
That's actually nothing next. So there is like, even if there is nothing next, there is a complete sense of fullness, I would say, of fulfillment. You feel so full, and even if you don't have nothing else to do anymore, that's somehow contradictory, right? But this is actually how it works. And there is actually, when enlightenment happens, there is no one else left to feel fulfilled or unfulfilled. There is like a sense of fulfillment. So there is no one else who says, okay, so what's next? Because the one that before was suffering, then went through a spiritual journey, and then now got enlightened. In reality, by getting enlightened, he disappeared. He understood that all there is consciousness, all there is the source, and everything is happening through the person, through the human beings, or also through the animals or the plants. It's like an unbroken unity. And there is like just the movie going on. There is no more like a witness somehow, right? So if you ask me right now, but are you talking to me, Maestro Mio? I'm like, I'm not talking in reality. Two persons, two people, right? Two beings are speaking one to the other. This is actually what I see. So yeah, there's nothing next, nothing to do anymore, right? And it is beautiful. I would say it's even better in this way, because you are completely peaceful. And I will give you like I reveal you a secret. What we really want as human beings, okay, if I don't know, if I want like money, or I want fame, I want power, these things in reality, they are somehow means to what we really want, which is peace. And enlightenment brings you total peace. So at the end of the day, you win, even if nothing, even if nothing else is left to do.
Yes, I feel that. Yes, it's a beautiful thing. It's true, because it's at this moment, all that matters right now is, like I said, this conversation, and nothing else matters, because there is nothing else.
True.
Right. So it just, wow, that's beautiful. Let's go back to you said, I interrupted you whenever, you've got three, so you have 3 steps to enlightenment, because I think to be at that space where you're enlightened, or like, enlightened, we bending words around, so because you need to, where you're enlightened, where it is beautiful, where you can enjoy this moment and that's it, and know that the next moment will be better or worse, and it doesn't matter. That's a powerful place to be, right? And also to be able to walk through and say, wow, look at this beautiful tree, and to be able, and to say, oh, that spider you don't have to stand on the spider, just say, it's meant to be there as well. And that's also very powerful. So now tell us how we can get to that space.
Sure. So I would say that everyone, actually, in reality, it is already going in that direction, because actually the whole life living, it is in itself like a teacher, I would say. It is so I created an online course, and I divided it in 3 steps, but just for to make it easier to understand. So the first step is to make our mind quiet. And what I mean by that is that when we are quiet, it means that we don't have any more somehow questions about life. We don't have any more doubts about life. You know, we don't have any more like bad thoughts about people. They did this to me, this happened. So if we can find in a way or the other to quieten, you know, our mind, when the mind is quiet, there is space. And when there is space, there is a possibility for enlightenment to happen, for the final understanding to happen, right? So it's all about, again, trying to be quiet. Do your best to not judge, not comment, you know, whatever happens in life. You somehow accept it the way it happens. Of course, after you do the best to make the situation the way that you want it to be, okay?
Right.
But then you give up somehow the result of your action, right? And you accept whatever happens, you become quiet. When you become quiet, you have so much energy, and that energy, it must be used to observe how the world works, how the people work, how your mind works, how your intellect, you know, you somehow become like a great analyzer, a great witness to whatever it is in front of you, the universe, the world, your body, you know, the mind. And when you start to do that, you somehow start having insights. And every insight is like a step towards enlightenment, right? And when enlightenment happens, it is a click. That's it. So this is kind of the process. Quieten your mind, understand how things work, and then understand who you are, and enlightenment will happen.
I love that. So it makes you full as well. So you become full and you can give to yourself. It's almost like a self-love. It's like an intense self-love, real self-love. And then from that point, you can give to others if you want to. But again, I'm going to ask you another question that came up while you were speaking.
Sure.
And I'm thinking about, what about responsibility? You did say at some point that you've abdicated responsibility. However, that can be construed in very many, in bad ways, right? So if you don't have any responsibility, you can do whatever you like and it's okay, whether it's good or bad. And I mean, it's each to their own at the end of the day, right? Each to their own, no judgment. There's no judgment here.
Yes.
But how would you explain that? So if you have no responsibility, then it's okay to walk out into the street and kill a person.
Well, let's say that I invite you to try to do that. But guess what will happen? You won't be able to do that because it is not in your destiny. It is not in your genes. It is not, you cannot do it, right? So some people are able to do that, and they are the serial killers, the criminals. They play that role in society, right? But us, me and you, we are good people. So we won't be able to do that, right? So anyway, about responsibility, it is a concept that no one has responsibility at the end. You know what I mean? In the sense that if I do something bad, if like a bad action happens through me, I will go to jail. But the moment that I'm in jail, I know completely that I didn't do it in reality. It happened through me. So I don't have like self-resentment, you know, I'm not guilty in reality. And I also don't, you know, hate the other for doing something like that, because in the end, I know that he doesn't have any responsibility. He is acting in that way because the source wants him to act in that way. And how? By his own conditioning and his genes, right? So again, responsibility at the end, it is not anyone's fault. No one is doing anything. Everything is happening. But of course, in the immediate, you know, moment, you must take the right action. So if someone kills someone, you must try to, you know, punish him, right? That's kind of obvious. But again, when people say, okay, as you just said, if I go on the street and, you know, I shoot people, again, I invite you to try to do that. You won't be able to do that.
Of course, you can't do it.
So yeah, as you can see, it's all about, you know, it will happen if it is supposed to happen. But guess what? People that have the understanding that in the end there is no responsibility, they are very few. They are the enlightened beings, right? Otherwise, meanwhile, the other people, they have a strong sense of free will, and our society is based on it. It is based on free will, right? So it's kind of, it's completely like a revolution to go against this concept of free will, you know. But I also didn't want to give up this free will, but my experiences, they brought me to accept it as a fact. So if you ask me now, if you tell me, no, look, there is free will, believe me, I couldn't even hear to you, because I know as a fact, right, that free will, it's just an illusion. It is somehow a divine hypnosis, and it is meant to make us act in the way that the source wants us to act. So, which means that the source, the idea of God that I and my masters have, it is not the exclusively good God, you know what I mean, that we are used to think. It is somehow an embracing God, a source, and from it comes both the good, you know, and the evil. So
Well,
somehow,
polarities. You have to
yes,
balance things out. So what are you saying? So then some people will be inherently bad and other people. So you don't believe, you believe in good and bad, right? You don't believe that everyone's good at some point.
No, you know what I believe? That I believe that everyone, it is potentially a Buddha. Everyone, it is potentially a saint, but also a saint or a Buddha, it is potentially a criminal. If one prevails against the other, it is totally according to the role that one has to play. Because if you think about it, in this world, right, there has never been a moment where both good and evil, they weren't existing in the same time. Just try to think about Mother Teresa and Hitler, right? She was a great, no, right? She was a great saint, a good woman, no, woman of God. And at the same time, Hitler was existing there, right? So as you can see, duality, it is part of life. And the moment that I say to you that you are a good person, I already know in my mind how someone bad looks like. So it's kind of necessary, right? It's like,
yes, of course, because you can't imagine something if you haven't seen it, and we already talked about that. You don't know if there's the story of and I don't know if it's true of the American Indians when there was, I think it was one of them, someone was saying, hey, there's a ship, the ship's going to come, and they were saying, no, there's nothing there, until they eventually saw it, or someone showed it to them and then they saw it. And that's the story. Like we can't imagine something if we don't know it. Okay, that's very good. Now I'd like to, and maybe it's something that I don't like dating this, but I think at this point we just need to bring something into play, because it was this morning that Putin went into Ukraine, right?
Yes.
And everyone's afraid. How would you explain that in your terms? And how would it influence you in Rome, right? And how would it influence you right now?
So right now, I, as a human being, okay, I will definitely be influenced by this new, okay, by this thing which is happening, the war against, right, between Russia and Ukraine. Immediately by, like, let's say I have to pay like more bills, right? The bills, they will be expensive and stuff like that. So,
right.
So this will happen. And I have the total understanding that if it is happening to me, it is just because I am in this place right now. So it's somehow it has to happen. I actually, in reality, I'm just giving life to a person somehow, which is called Maestro Mio, right? And I totally accept whatever is happening to me as part of the law of cause and effect, in the sense that if Russia, if they had like a different president, okay, he was like, you know, more, I don't know, ethical somehow, I'm sure that this war wouldn't have been happening, right? They wouldn't happen. So there is like the total understanding that whatever happens, especially the bad things, because we have the problem with the bad things, right? We never, you know, okay.
Right, we don't want bad things, right? Yes.
You know, all right. So if it's happening, it has to happen, right? It is supposed to happen according to a law of cause and effect, which is very simple. Putin is in that way. He really wants not that bad the stuff that Ukraine has, so he's going to war. And I totally accept it. I mean, it's not that I don't care. Of course I care, because no, I will have to earn more money to pay, you know, my stuff and stuff like that. Also, so many people, they will die or something bad will happen to them. But still, there is the understanding that at the end of the day, because everything it is written, why should I cry about it? I should do my best to improve my situation. But that's it. You know what I mean? What else can I do? I'm not the government of America, which can take maybe action and try to help Ukraine to defend it. Okay. So somehow in my position, I'm definitely affected by it, but I'm peaceful in the sense that I accept it as a fact. And meanwhile, I accept it. I do my best to improve my own situation, to defend myself, to protect myself, my family, and my friends. But what else can I do?
Yes, yes, I love that, because a lot of people get caught up in all the drama, and then it just generates and creates more fear, which is what this podcast's about. We haven't even spoken about it. And that fear then just creates chaos in their lives, and there's nothing you can do. The only thing you can do maybe is send love and light, right? If that's what you believe.
Yeah, definitely. So about the fear, I would say that I don't have fear in the sense that I know that anyway there is a higher source who's taking care of everything. And also I have the final understanding that in order for peace to be here in this world, war must also exist, right? It's again, we're talking about the opposites. So yeah, we don't have to be scared. We definitely do our best to improve the situation, but there is no reason for fear, you know, actually, because when you have fear, you act pretty in a stupid way, I would say, right?
Right,
so fear
right.
has its place maybe just to somehow give us a signal, you know, to give us like a reason to do something. But that's kind of it, I would say. I wouldn't embrace fear and make it part of my life, you know, as something beautiful. No, you just use it as it is, you know, you use it just to get scared for a moment in order to protect yourself the next moment. And that's it, I would say.
Well, that's very good, because a lot of people wouldn't agree with you, you know, so fear just changes everything. So again, it's about the observer. So how do you observe, Maestro Mio?
Yes, so you observe because you don't want anymore to get caught up in your own suffering, in your own anxiety, in your own ideas. You are somehow tired of that. So I would say it becomes natural. It is our natural way of living life in reality. And right now we are somehow entangled in our mind. So when this somehow suffering of, you know, being trapped in our mind becomes too much, it will be natural for us to intuitionally detach from it, to intuitionally detach from the fears, the anxiety, you know, the bad talk, the constant talk that, you know, the mind has. So again, there is not too much to do, I would say. It's all about being as you are somehow. So there is no action that you can take in order to become an observer. It is your natural state, and right now you take action to be entangled. You accept, you know, to be trapped in your mind, but in reality just don't be trapped in your mind, and that's the way to become an observer, I would say.
Okay, I love that. So now, how would you see this interaction right now that we're having this conversation, from Maestro Mio's side or from the observer? And what would the difference be?
So right now that I'm talking about this, let's say that I'm enjoying it. I didn't prepare myself. I don't care at all about what I'm going to say, in the sense that I know that I will say only what am I supposed to say. And this gives me so much freedom. And believe me, I don't do this only now that I'm talking to you. I do this in every single moment that I live my life. So it is somehow a way of living, but not in a personal way. You know, you live more in a I don't know, you embrace life as an event, as it happens. You are here, but you are not here. You let somehow life flow through you. You let life happen through you, and you enjoy the process. You enjoy the moment when there is activity, like right now when we are talking, but also the moment when the body is sleeping, for example. So let's say when the body sleeps, I am awake, I would say. I can witness the absence of the body. So it's somehow that I took a different position, you know, I took the position of what I really am. And I hold that naturally, because in reality, I don't have to hold it. It's my nature to be the witness in every moment, which is the witness. It's somehow the screen, I would say, you know, the awareness, which contains also the consciousness, which sometimes is at rest when we are sleeping, and it is manifested when the body is awake with the world and everything.
Right.
What about you?
Yes. No, I agree with that. These conversations, as you know, they are conversations. I never prescript anything. It's just, okay, let's meet and let's have a chat.
That's great. I love it.
Because I like the spontaneity, and I like what comes out of it. If it's pre-written, It becomes stilted and harsh, and then you lose sight of, oh no, I was supposed to say this and that. Oh no, what am I going to do? And it just causes chaos and anxiety within you. So I love that, because that's the way I live as well. You know, it just, and I agree with you, when a lot of times life does flow through you, and a lot of times when having these conversations, it just flows.
Yeah.
And the questions just come, because that's the questions that are supposed to come. And that sounds, oh, well, it's interesting. Tell us, Maestro Mio.
Yeah, I mean, let me add that actually, I would say it is more fascinating, no, to be somehow careless in a good way, you know, about what you're going to say next. In the sense that you have total faith that whatever is going to come out of your mouth, right, whatever you're going to think, it is the right thing that it has to happen, right? So it is a beautiful, I would say, intimate relationship with the unknown.
Yes.
So it's like putting salt on, I don't know, no, on the salad. It makes more tasty, right? That's it.
Yes, yes. And it allows you to interact with each other and actually speak, so you have the energy flowing all the time. As opposed to thinking, oh no, I have to ask this question here and that question there, and oh no. I wouldn't be doing any of these.
I know you.
Maestro Mio, tell me, where can people find you?
So they can find me if they want on YouTube, if they have time, but they don't have to, okay? It's all up to them. And I will leave here, if it's okay for you, a link with my new course about awakening. And they also have like a free PDF where I show them my first words after awakening. I would say it's kind of funny, because when the moment that you become awakened somehow, it happens, you want to say something about how stupid you've been until now. So they will see this free PDF.
Now I'm going to have to add something to that. You know how the brain listens to everything you say, right?
Yeah.
So, Maestro Mio, are you going to say that? How stupid was I before this?
Well, let's say that I don't know. We are like a king, or in your case, you are a queen. But you've been thinking about yourself as a slave somehow, as a thief.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you just want to scream it to the entire world what you were not and what you really are. So I will limit myself to these sentences, so people can go and see the full PDF.
Yes, I love that. I'd love to see that too. To see what you see and how things are just different. It's very cool. Of course, everything will be in the description box.
Yes, thank you.
Anything else, Maestro Mio, that you want to say?
Well, let me add that I really invite people to be themselves, in the sense that I see in this society that there is so much necessity to hold to an identity, right? To be this or to be that. And I see that this brings so much suffering to the person, but also so much division inside the society. So I would really love to see people just to be, you know what I mean? Because there is, in reality, a great pleasure in just being, because if everyone is something and you are just yourself, you are actually different, you are unique. So be yourself and let life flow through you and around you.
I love that. And so I'll have to add to that is in society now, everything, it's either you or me. It's us and them. There's so much polarity and there's so much hate and anger and fear. If we could just sit down for one moment, right, and say, listen, hey, you know, we're not so different at the end of the day. You live in Rome, I'm in San Diego. Okay, I'm female, you male. That's
kind of the only difference, don't worry.
I know, but what I'm saying is, imagine if we were afraid and we wouldn't have this conversation and we wouldn't make a difference in someone's life, right? True. We need to sit down and listen to each other so we can join hands and realize we're all together and realize that unity is strength.
Yeah, so actually it is just realizing the situation as it is. It's not that we have to understand something, you know, we have to create something and then understanding. What you are saying, it is the normal. What you are saying, it is a fact. We really are all unite, but we decide somehow to be separate. So I totally agree with you, Carina.
Yes, yes. Well, that's a good note to end it. So anything else, Maestro Mio? I really loved this time together. It was exciting and enlightening, right?
Oh, yeah. That's a good word. I hope it was. I hope it was. I hope I don't bring you to darkness.
No, how can you do that? And besides, that's my choice as well. I decide whether I want to go into darkness or not.
That's true.
But
ultimately, remember, it is not your choice.
Touche on that.
Anyway, yeah. No, I just want to add, actually, if people, they really want to know more about me and or my background, they should actually go and check my spiritual masters. Okay. My living master is Gautam Sachdeva. His master is called Ramesh Balsekar. And the master of his master was called Nisargadatta Maharaj. And I'm sure that the last name, if someone is a spiritual seeker, they really know him because he's like a VIP in the spiritual realm, okay? So I just want to end with a, you know, salutation to my masters.
Okay, well, thank you. We'll add that as well into the description box so you can go and check them out. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This was awesome. We'll have to have a follow-up on this and some grapple on some other things. There's so many things that we can discuss and time just goes by. Thank you, Maestro Mio. It was a pleasure and honor to have Carina. You, and we will chat soon. Bye, everyone. See you soon. See you next week.